1 year ago, my life completely changed.
I'd like to request a service animal for my son.
And that's when I got Gigi.
She's a lot smaller than I thought.
I really loved this movie, and one of the elements hopefully won't make me cry, but I was a caregiver to my mother, who was, I guess, technically disabled because she was blind. So I appreciate how you guys represented that. Can you guys kind of talk a little bit more about that? Because I know the mother's character, has to caretake for him and that element.
I will say all across our nation, mothers typically are caregiving, not just for their own children, but then for oftentimes their parents. It falls to us to do that. And my mother also passed from Alzheimer's. So I understand caring for a disabled person. And it uses every part of your heart, and you want to give every part of your heart, but it's also exhausting. And so you have this kind of battle between what you're doing and what you're giving, what you need to be giving and what you want to give. But then there's this little part of you that's like, oh, I just want time for me. And you don't have it. And you have to make peace with that. But at the end of the day, when you see, like in this movie, you see your child triumph and go on to do the things he wants to do, it's joy. Like literally, I am that person. If I see my kids doing anything amazing, I'm like, and the one in the audience goes, oh, that's my child, that's them. So I totally get that, just the acts of love. But also I will say the caregivers, they're like the oil on the wheels of life right now. We're keeping it going, and it's incredible.
This was a huge change, right? For just a totally unexpected change. And the family had to rally together. Nick, could you kind of expand on some of that?
Yeah, I mean, just to pick up your first point, there's a great line in the movie where the mother and the father are running out of money. And the father says to the mother, to Marcy's character, look, why don't you go and get a job? And the great line in the movie is that Marcy says, I have a job. It just doesn't pay, because she's spending her time looking after her disabled son. And that line is exactly resonant in what you guys are just talking about. But look, most importantly, animals do not judge you. Animals either like you or don't like you. They either work with you or they don't work with you. They're absolutely, literally, there's nothing between that. They have no consciousness where they say, well, I'm not going to pick up your pen 15 times because you dropped it. Or I'm not going to give you a glass of water because you dropped it 15 times. Or I'm not going to go and switch on the TV because you can't do it. They'll do it because they love you. Now, this movie is about removing a level of and giving to people who are disabled a level of care and a level of understanding, and most importantly, a level of independence, which is what disabled people want more than anything else. They do not necessarily want somebody 24/7 looking at them. They want to be independent. And in that sense, if we can embrace a culture where we can work with these animals and these animals can benefit from us, then surely to God, we're in a place which is wonderfully open and progressive and wonderfully futuristic. And that's where we should be going. And this movie is about that debate.
Yeah, and it kind of highlights like the good work that this monkey's doing. And so I'm sorry it's even under contention that they would be up for, some regulations in terms of state on the state level.
It's not even under contention. It's finished.
Wow.
You cannot have primates as a service animal in most states in North America. And that is a fact. And it's getting worse and worse. And it is a crying shame, because America was absolutely ahead of the game in this research, in the development of these working practices, and the ability for people to get rehabilitation through working with animals is enormous. And America was leading the world in this. And to close this down because of puritanical attitudes, which are not progressive and which are not which are not useful for us as humans progressing and our relationships with animals, is a crying shame.
I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for her.